Good evening, good Wednesday evening, and welcome to Wednesday Night Live. Thank you for joining us tonight. As always, please make sure you keep your notifications turned on. Like us, share us, send us a comment. Now, we figured something out today while we were recording earlier. Your pastor loves them fire emojis, so you send some fire emojis my way, and I would greatly appreciate that. But let us know you're out there. Tonight, we have a great-looking group of ladies. Don't you agree? Well, a couple weeks ago, we started we had a night that was designed, and I thought it was appropriate at that time to hear a man's perspective of leading the family, leading even his own personal life through pandemic. A man's view, a father's view. Tonight, we're going to be talking about leading through pandemic, but yet from the ladies' perspective, and it is a different perspective, and what you'll find is probably a lot of good nuggets of truth, a lot of anxiousness that they experience, but yet they're here tonight to kind of share their experience a little bit. We've got some questions we're going to ask. I've asked Sharon to be me tonight. So whenever we begin, I'm going to back out, and she and Tammy are going to kind of lead the discussion, and it's going to be an interesting night. But let me introduce to you the folks that are here. Obviously, I introduced my wife, Sharon. This is right here, Sharon and Barnes. You should by now, but yet, nevertheless. To her left, your right, is Tammy Wilbanks. Tammy is leading our women's ministry currently and doing an outstanding job in this pandemic time. On my far right, your left, is Amy Murphy, followed by Robbie Johnson, and then Miss Shelia Stamps right here in the middle. So without further ado, I'm going to let these ladies begin to talk. Now, ladies, I want to remind you something, okay? Talk loud like your pastor so they won't send comments that they can't hear you.
Well, thank you, Pastor. And thank you, ladies, for being here tonight. What a blessing it is to see you all. And I know everybody watching is going to be just as thrilled as I am to see you here. We have several questions lined up, and I did try to share with you them ahead of time so I wouldn't put you on the spot. But you never know, we might come up with a new question. So be ready now. Just be natural, be yourself, because we love you just like you are. So the first question is, what did you learn about yourself during this pandemic? You can talk about what you learned spiritually, your personality traits, or anything that comes to mind that you've learned from this experience. And why don't we start with Miss Sharon?
Okay. I personally, I mean, I've always known I haven't done well with change, but it really magnified with all the changes happening in our life that I don't like change, and it took me a while to adjust. I also found out I am really tired of cooking. And so our household is probably different than everybody else's household. We have David and I and our daughter who went through back surgery, and 3 boys and dogs. So our house was very chaotic. And so, but spiritually, I had to find a quiet place. And that was something that it took me a while to find that quiet place to talk to God.
For myself, I live alone, so I have lots of quiet time. But I did learn that I am stronger in witnessing and testifying to other people, that to tell them of the saving grace of Jesus and helping them through their concerns and fears of the pandemic and the frustrations of the shutdown. And I'm just so thankful that I could be a help to someone.
And for me, I'm an introvert by nature, so it was actually super easy for me to be alone with just my kids. But for me, I really enjoyed the time on my hands to have more time with my kids and to I actually am not a big breakfast cooker the last 10 years. Like, we just eat a bowl of cereal and frozen waffle and let's go to school. But have learned to love to cook breakfast. Pancakes, bacon, biscuits, everything you can think of. But for me, spiritually, I'm good just getting on YouTube and finding my favorite different pastors out there, David Wilkerson or any mentors, and just listening to them quietly while the kids are watching TV or something. But it's just everybody has their own different thing.
For me, I think the thing I realized the quickest was that I am not as patient as I thought I really was. My kids pointed that out to me the first week. Mom, you are really not being very patient. So the other thing I learned was to go ahead and take some time when I was getting stressed out, because everyone was in my space who hadn't normally been there, and just to take myself out of the situation. Sometimes, like, I had to find that place alone. But I also have enjoyed the time to reconnect and slow down our schedule. I don't think we realized how overscheduled we were until our schedule was completely empty. And it wasn't entirely a bad thing for me. Just realizing how tired I had been of everything that we were doing, and having that time to reconnect with my family and with our neighborhood, which we've only lived there for 3 years, so this is a whole new experience. And also realizing that we can worship at home and actually connect with God. And I think that's made that, I don't know, maybe feel more accessible.
That's good. Really good. Did any of you learn something new about a family member?
Our oldest grandson is cooking. And so once a week, he goes through the recipe book and he finds something and he cooks, and he's learned to pour the charcoal in the grill, light it, and throw the meat on. And it has been an added blessing for me. So I did not know. And he said he may even go to culinary school. And I went, oh, at least he has a backup plan. So, yeah, that was new. And I found out that the youngest one, once he's home, and he has a hard time realizing that he has to do school at home. And it's when he's at home, he wants to do his own thing. And so that was an adjustment, but we did good. We did good.
We've actually realized that your kids, the things that you thought you knew about them, sometimes you're like, oh, that's a whole new side. During the pandemic, Zoe has taken it upon herself to start teaching Shiloh her schoolwork. And it has been a blessing for me. It's one less thing I'm doing, and it's helping Shiloh. She has that sibling to connect with, and they're both learning. And she's also learned to cook eggs. Shiloh, not Zoe. Zoe already knew. And Zoe even convinced Nate that he needed to know how to fix his own eggs. So everyone's cooking at our house.
There you go.
For us, before the pandemic, we were the kids could games on the weekends. So after that, we kind of opened the schedule more. But what I've learned is Caleb is incredibly loud. We constantly hollering at him to quit screaming to the TV.
Okay, well, what was the hardest adjustment during this time?
I'm going to throw myself under the bus on this one. The absolute hardest thing for me was adjusting to someone else working in my workspace. I have worked from home for a really long time, and suddenly 2 people are working from home in my household, and I have college students working from home and taking classes from home. So I was not the only one working, and that was a huge adjustment. As crazy as it sounds, adjusting to the sound of the keyboards in my house, dead quiet, and there's way more keyboard noise than I'm used to. And I can hear someone's Zoom call in the other room, and my wireless noise-canceling headset is not enough.
We're just so busy with it. We were getting right into baseball season, and all 4 kids were playing. So for us, the hardest adjustments was everything stopping. I mean, we were gone 7 days a week, sun up to sundown. But after a few weeks of everything getting into that routine, we actually really enjoyed it. We're like, okay, wait, I like this. I like this slower pace of life.
Right. The hardest thing that I've learned through this is, when we had to stop, the fact of stopping, no longer coming to church, and spending time with my grandsons and my granddaughter who's in Garland. Really miss those weekends and days that I get to spend with them.
I think the first biggest adjustment I had, 2 actually. One was I was in charge of the school for the boys because Amber was so overwhelmed with teaching. And so that was a big adjustment for all of us. The other one was I had a brand new grandson, and he's 12 weeks old, and I couldn't go. And I still can't go. So through this whole thing, I'm very thankful for technology. But that was a big adjustment, knowing that I cannot see him, I'd hold him. And that was tough. That was really tough.
That sounds tough. Very tough. So let's talk about what was the best thing that's happened to you or your family during this time.
Oh, I'd like to go first on that one, if I may. I am just absolutely ecstatic at the fact that people have realized that family comes first. It's not the job, it's not the sports, it's not the activities that went on outside the home. It's being together and spending time together. And I'm just very thankful. If nothing else, for me, it was good to see the reconnecting of my children with their children.
We kind of had that the good thing that happened in our household was I'm a very structured person, so we set a schedule, and we got the boys up. They had their lounge time, their break. We had a set schedule, and we put in the schedule Bible study. That was the first thing they did, and so that was really neat to do, because when you're getting up and you're throwing clothes on and you're trying to get out the door to get to the bus, we forgot about all of that. And so having a Bible study for the boys and having them read out loud, that was very big and very important. And the other thing that really turned out really well is on Fridays they had family game night. We did Monopoly on the PlayStation, or I went and got Rowlett Monopoly, or they played cards. They had family game night or family movie night. And so I agree, the family time has been incredible. And that would not have happened if we were still going to baseball and football and soccer and all that stuff. So it's been good.
I kind of wonder if that's maybe a lesson that we're all, as a society, relearning. Just having shifted from a society where we were mostly all at home, gradually to where we're mostly all out of our homes, and now we've had to adjust to being entirely based out of our homes again, except for people who were having to work. Mm-hmm. And that connection time it's really hard to explain how much that's shifted little relationships within the house. Watching relationships that weren't bad, they were good. Shiloh's a daddy's girl, and that's always great. But now seeing her and him go for walks around the neighborhood, because that's something you can still do. You can get out of the house and go for a walk. And I actually have heard from a couple of neighbors that we've met while we were out walking that that's something our neighbors have noticed, that there's this dad who takes his kids and walks them around the neighborhood, and that's a time when they've connected where there was never time for that to happen. And now it has to happen because you have to get your kids moving, and you want to get some sunshine and vitamin D, and so it's doing what needs to be done, but also strengthening the relationship a way that we hadn't really thought about ahead of time. So that's definitely been
it's priceless.
Absolutely.
It's priceless.
That's good, ladies. Spiritually, have you noticed over the past few weeks what God is saying to you?
I'm gonna jump in there because it's kind of connected to the last one. We have lived in our neighborhood, as I already said, for 3 years, and in 3 years, I had only met one or two of our neighbors for more than a couple of minutes, and with social distancing, and the fact that our neighbors were now not at work all day, we've actually met more of our neighbors than ever before. We've built some relationships. We have new neighbors across the street, and the thing that I just felt God telling me over and over again was to help them have a different experience than we had when we moved in, to reach out to them and to build some relationships that it was too easy before with a busy schedule and everyone on the street being so busy, that he was just saying, you have to reach out. And when I couldn't be out, I was reaching out online to friends and to people from church, to people I had barely spoken with since high school, but that I could see were struggling with depression during this. And God gave me a chance to reach into their lives and say, you're not alone. You're not forgotten. Someone loves you. And for me, that's been the biggest thing, just God telling me, stay connected.
I've kind of had a cool thing. It's actually been going on even before the pandemic, but I would if I looked at the clock, it would all be 7:14, or if I got a text message, it'd be 7:14. Wow. And I just felt like the Lord was just reminding me, 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people who are called by my name would humble themselves and pray and turn from their wicked ways and seek my face. So every time that would happen to me, I would just be like, okay, God, I'm going to seek your face. I'm going to pray. But it seemed like over the last 10 weeks, it's happened quite a bit. And I know that's just a friendly reminder from God to keep your eyes on me.
I know for myself, it's caused me to go into a deeper prayer time. Prayer's always been very important for me, but it's not about my family or my kids or just my church family here, but it's the world as a whole, because there's so many out there that don't have anybody to pray for them or to intercede for them or to take them to the Lord. And I find myself even waking up of a morning and I'm already praying as I'm waking up. And that's got to be a God thing. I don't think that we just automatically do that, but it's burdens that you bear for other people. And I think it's a privilege that God gives us, these things that we can do for him.
That's really good. Spiritually, that I found out about myself is that being at home, I was gathering knowledge, but I wasn't experiencing or engaging. Does that make sense? I noticed it mostly, and it was very special to have us all in the living room, and we had church together. That was very special. But still, the engaging participation of the praise and worship was harder for me at home. And so I could get the knowledge, but I was lacking the experience. I hope that makes sense. And that's what I think I missed the most spiritually. And then again, you have to find that time to engage. With a busy household, you had to find that time and make that time to engage.
That's really good, really good. What is something funny that happened to you or your family in the past couple months?
Well, I've got I've got several, actually. I've got several. So, like I said, we started Bible study, and the boys were reading, starting in Genesis, and they were reading. And I would read, or Rylan would read out loud, and we would switch off because we would read a whole chapter, and he's just second grade, and he was doing really well. But anyway, we got to the circumcision part, and the boys said, "What is that anyway?" And so after I explained it, they said, "Oh, we really didn't need to know that information." And from that point on, the rest of that chapter, Rylan kind of did not get. He was stuck on circumcision, and we kind of lost that whole chapter. But that was one of our funny experiences.
We kind of had one of those same ones. I was asking the kids some JBQ questions, and I was like, "Who is the wisest person that ever lived?" And they were like, "King Solomon." And then Seth said, "Well, he had 500 wives." And Caleb said, "Well, that wasn't very wise."
But today, Rylan was getting some ice in a cup, and this is not spiritual at all. And maker, the ice sometimes sticks all together, and he said, "Oh, I got a 4-pack of ice." And I looked at him, and 4 ice cubes side by side were stuck together. And I was washing dishes, and I looked at him, and he had his shirt raised up, looking at his belly, and he said, "But I don't have a 4-pack."
That is so funny. Kids just keep us rolling, don't they?
They do.
They really do. Kids and grandkids. Right. Without them, I don't know how we'd make it through all this. They keep us going. What, if anything, has surprised you during this time?
I think for me, I really enjoy working, but I've always kind of said I wanted a little of both worlds, being at home and stay-home mom. But I really enjoyed staying home because in life is, I love being busy, but then I really enjoyed the last 10 weeks of life slowing down. And
But can't you be so busy at home? when you've got-
yes, still busy.
It's
But
really
it makes
busy.
you realize what you want to pour into your kids, and priorities, and what principles you want them to learn, and what things about the Bible. And
I've often thought in the last week, especially with kids or grandkids at home, they're like our mission field. We have to pour into these kids that are with us, all the time, because this is our future, and their future is scary at the moment. And so we really have to pour into them. They are our mission field.
Okay, well, I think we're getting close to our time, but I do want to say that what has really surprised me is, and really, in a way I'm surprised, in a way I'm not, but how wonderful our church really is, our church family, and how people have taken time to keep connected and to watch the videos and to do what they can to participate in whatever the circumstances may be. And I am so thankful for that, because it's like a lifeline for me. I miss the church. I miss the people. And I especially miss the ladies. And I can't wait till things are back to where we can have the kids interacting together, because they miss their friends. But this has been wonderful, and I appreciate it.
Well, let me tell you something, ladies. I thought y'all did awesome.
Thank you.
It was incredible. But we do have a surprise question. We received a question through comments, but so Tammy, you're going to have to answer this one too. And I'm going to save Sharon for last, but yet Miss Shelia, you'll be exempt from this one.
Okay. Oh, thank you, Jesus is good.
So you get a little bit of a blessing there.
Yes,
So,
I do. Yes,
but
I do.
one of our listeners tonight, and I won't call them by name or just give you an initial, Joseph Villegas.
Is this one a deep one? Deep.
Joseph wanted to know, what was the most annoying thing your husband has done during the pandemic?
I plead the fifth.
No, we're not having fifths. We're gonna answer that, and I'm gonna put you last. Amy, go ahead.
I'll go first because I alluded to it earlier. About 3 days into the shutdown, my husband left the house, went to his office, and brought home this special keyboard that he loves from work. and the keys on that keyboard are twice as loud as his normal keyboard that he has always used at home. And he sits 3 feet from my desk, and he types aggressively when he gets upset. And I have noise issues. You know those people who don't like food noises? That's me. Or repetitive noises, or foot tapping, or constant clicking on the keyboard. So
I have a
that's
grandson
it
like
for
that.
me.
Michael, we love you. Robbie, go ahead. Tell us what Ricky's done. Throw him under the bus.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot, but it's kind of hard because he is gone a lot Monday through Friday. So I can't think of anything in particular over the pandemic other than he loves to chew on a straw, and it is the most annoying thing. It starts out at 10 inches and he chews it all the way up to like an inch, but he will chew on it for an hour, and it'll drive you nuts.
Have you told him this?
Oh, for 10 years.
Okay. So he's listening is what you're
He
telling
better
me.
be listening.
Okay.
He's probably
All right,
chewing on one
Tammy,
right now.
I'm going to throw you out there right now.
Okay, well, we were only home for 2 weeks, but one thing that started annoying me was that my husband never took off his pajamas.
It made you jealous, huh?
I was like,
That
I
may be
need you in some clothes, please.
what we find is there's a fine line between annoying and jealousy, right? Okay, Sharon, you're going to have to answer it because these ladies went out on the limb, so you've got to, and you have to pretend I'm not here.
Well, he has been busy and gone majority of the time. He has been extra busy. I think the most annoying thing was all of the Zoom meetings. And Amber's on a meeting, he's on a meeting, the internet is falling down, it's not working, the dogs are barking, the kids are running around, and it was hard. And he's saying, this is not working, I'm going up to the church. And Amber's saying, what happened to the internet? Reset it. And I'm saying, don't bark, dogs, just don't bark. And so I think that was hard. But he was very busy, so he went home a whole lot.
So for the record, though, your daughter was more annoying than your husband.
Yeah, in
we
some
won't,
cases.
We won't answer that as well. Ladies, thank you for being transparent, sharing a little bit of your story with us. And obviously there's a lot more to that story than we've been able to get into tonight. But yet we'll have time in time to talk about it. Let me share a few things with you out there that's going to be coming up this weekend. And obviously the first thing is we are in-person services. We have 2 opportunities. Now, we understand there's some still some caution out there, and there's some people that do not need to venture out. We understand and we get that. But if you are able to, and God's speaking to you, it's a great opportunity. I think what Sharon said earlier is probably the most thing I've heard and sensed among most people is that online is just not as intense in participation and in that experience as in person. And we have a 9 a.m. service, and that's predominantly for the older to protect them from my grandkids and other kids running around and grabbing them because you can't always control that. But yet then we do more of a traditional worship during that 9 a.m. And then the 11 a.m. is more of the family contemporary worship that we do. Same message, and we're looking at making next steps and taking right things to go to phase 2. You'll get more information about that later. But the Sunday, 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. But we're going to honor the graduates this Sunday. Yay. We're going to recognize all of the kids, young men, young women that graduated high school and college. We have 6 high school graduates and 3 college graduates. And so we're going to recognize them, and we're going to just applaud them together and pray for them and believe that God's got great things in store for them. That night, and just take a moment to hear this, because this coming Sunday night, June 7th, would have been the night we gathered with the other 3 churches, had 4 churches getting together for Pentecost service. But because we're unable to do that, the pastors and wives are going to get together, and we're going to have online communion there will be a link on our website that will take you to Bond First Assembly's live stream page. And you'll have all the information there, but you can get it through our website, so you don't have to know all the letters and numbers and all that. But I want to remind you again, as we close tonight, like us, share. I like them fire emojis, but yet if you're not subscribed to YouTube, please do so. That just helps us out so much, and we appreciate it. Appreciate Mike back behind the computer and doing all the camera work and everything, and all those behind the scenes. Ladies, again, thank you for sharing a little bit of your story with us. God bless y'all tonight. Have a great evening.